Hello and welcome to Filmmaking for Pennies with Living in Bits and Cinevore, Nerd versus Geek. A couple people have asked us about this. We're talking about doing a DVD Kickstarter for Living in 8 Bits, the same way Nerd vs. Geeks Kickstarter succeeded, which you can buy copies of the DVD at our booth, if you haven't already. And so with a nice DVD and a Kickstarter, you want to have a nice, good cover. We are going to unveil for you the eventual DVD cover / poster. So the artwork was done by Chris Barley, who also did, if anybody's watched our Robot Master audition episodes, Chris did the Robot Master designs. So that's pretty cool.
As a towards script writing, what are your first steps?
And
then you go to college.
That's okay.
You totally do not have. You gotta turn the power off of this thing. With script writing, we have a couple people who do writing in here as well. I mean, you don't need anything but an idea. With Living in 8 Bits, obviously, it's video game related. It's obviously very tooled around making parodies and jokes of the games that, the Nintendo games. So in this case, with Dr. Mario, Connor and the guy who owns the game store that you always see in our videos, Next Level Video Games, they talked to me about they wanted to do a Dr. Mario episode. So they pitched me a couple concepts, and then I just sat down and wrote the script, and we send it back and forth and make notes on it. But that's with Living in 8 Bits. Nerd vs. Geek has a very different writing process. Everyone has their own writing process. All you need is an idea. There's nothing out there that can stop you from doing it. All you need to do is be able to write, but the thing I'll tell you the most is you can't be afraid of getting feedback and criticism too. People I know, like I send my scripts to people, like when I send it to Matt, I actually send him the draft file that he can make his own changes in and send it back to me. And I'm not afraid for him to tell me this sucks, this is horrible, or
which I do all the time,
every day,
regularly.
So, do you have anybody else to add to script writing?
I mean, most people with script writing, when you're first starting out, it's really great to just pick up 1 or 2 script writing books, just so you understand what it looks like, the format. The point of the format is not just to be formal and to look professional. It actually has a functionality. Usually when you're writing, especially comedy scripts and sitcom scripts, 1 page is 1 minute. So you'll have a really good idea of how long your final piece is going to be based on just writing words to the page. So that's awesome. Number 2, once you get used to that kind of format, speaking of open source, Celtics apparently is a free script writing software. A lot of people use it. Final Draft, we have Final Draft because they're only because they happen to be one of our sponsors, so we got it for free. Final Draft I think is like $130.
It's not that much.
It's not that much, but Celtics is free. There's a bunch of other websites that have free script writing software. It's really worth taking a crack at. And then what we do in-house... no, sorry.
Okay. You look like you had a thing.
Well, no, I was just... Is this on? Yeah. I was just going to add to that, the best thing about writing is it can cost, you can get a pen and paper.
Yeah.
It's so cheap. That's what I love about writing.
Yep.
It's just, that's...
No,
you don't need anything fancy. And Celtics, like you mentioned, that's what I use, and it's a great source.
And to us, writing's important because it's the cheapest part of the process. If you've got idea, once you have an idea about something, the place to make it as close to possible what you want it to be is on the page. Because once you have to shoot it, it starts costing money. So it's figure out. Sometimes we used to write out things that required effects when we were writing, and we're like, how can we do this cheaper? How can we do it that still gets the joke across, that still works the punchline without needing it. Fortunately, eventually we found Mike's very good at effects. We found a guy named Chris Pateko who's amazing at effects who suddenly started. He's
the car explosion in Ladies Lament, that's him.
Yeah, we did a video with a Bowser on a clown balloon thing over a river of lava, and I had written it on the page as a guy laughing maniacally in the foreground and just a blurry red sort of lava-y thing out of focus, way out of focus in the background. So you assumed it was a castle, and he looked at it and he was like, I could make you a Bowser castle. And I'm like, really? And he spent like 3 months on it, but you know, if you have a good script, sometimes that's the appeal of it too.
And now he's an effects guy on the Nerd movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Now he's doing effects for James Roll.
So, I saw one in the back first. Yeah, here. No? Okay.
Did anyone else
Oh.
have writing?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how do you know like where your niche fits in? Like, you know, hey, this is gonna be a good book, this is gonna be a good, you know, movie, this is gonna be a commercial, this is gonna be, you know, how, if you're putting some pen to paper, how do you know?
If it's going to be real expensive, it's a book.
Good point.
I mean,
The
for
idea
us,
process, like, how do you know how to like harness that? Like, hey, I want to make this book, I want to make this movie, I want to make.
I think we do this a little bit differently from you guys, but in Cinevore, what we have is this big Google Doc Excel spreadsheet called the Idea Bank. And whenever we have an idea for anything at all that we think is funny, we just enter it in there and then we literally just file it. Like, what does this seem like? Is this a bit? Is this a sketch? Is this like a Family Guy 5-second joke? Could this be a fake commercial? Could this be whatever?
Or is it a solid enough concept to be a full film?
And sometimes we leave that column blank and it's just literally a thing to remember. The great thing about Google Docs and things like that in the cloud is that you can share it with your team. I like writing with a team because there's something great about having the energy of people in a room together. It's really, really difficult to be creative staring at a blank wall. And that's no matter what you're doing, writing a book, writing a screenplay, doing anything. Like, it's amazing, even if you're not working on the same project, to be around other creative people. I really encourage you to build an idea bank like this. So that's kind of how we started off, and then it just sort of naturally evolves. For us, a lot of times it's what we have time for, what we have resources for. When we put it out to our team of, hey, I want to do let's say like a web series, we would put out like a casting call, we would ask friends, and then if we pull the resources together, like, hey, I want to write an episode, like a great example of this was, I want to do a laser tag episode. We tried to raise the money on Kickstarter, failed, could not get, we needed $3,500 to rent the laser tag arena. By making the effort to try to rent the laser tag arena and failing, the laser tag arena felt sorry for us and they gave it to us for free. We did have to raise some money to get insurance and all that kind of stuff, but that's kind of how these things naturally sort of come together.
It's wheeling and dealing and bartering.
Yeah, it really, really, really is. So, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, for us, like what we do with 8 Bits, and a lot of everybody here, everybody has a resource of some kind that they bring to the table. So you become friends with them, and you find out, all right, what do we have? What do we have access to? All right, well, we know we have this kind of building. Let's write something for this kind of building. You tailor your idea and your script to what you have available. I think it was Robert Rodriguez in his book, what is it, Rebel Without a Crew?
Right.
He said like he had 3 things, and he wrote his first movie based around those things that he had access to. And that's what we do. Like there are times where we have grander ideas, like when we want to blow up a car, and we were just very lucky that we knew an effects guy who knew how to blow up a car for us. It's all about that, bartering, wheeling and dealing, making sure you have access to it. We always have grand ideas, but we never make sure that we go beyond what we know or what we can. Like, we don't have $200 million budgets. We have no budget.
Yeah. The other thing, because we keep going back to effects, speaking as animation department partially here, and a couple of the animators in the room, one of the greatest free resources I found online is called videocopilot.com. They have the craziest effects to show, like, a good example is, how do you do those cool pans where somebody's like on a rooftop and then zoom out and then it's like the earth and space and stuff? They teach you how to do that for free. There's a million YouTube tutorials on just about every single special effect you'd want to make. And honestly, if you want to do a green screen setup, you don't have to have like the most professional setup ever. I mean, our first setup was like, I don't know, $100 or something on Amazon.com.
And I mean, half the time you guys do green screen. You're just 2 people holding it like on either side of the screen.
If you saw what our green screen looked like with all the wrinkles in it, you would be like, you guys No.
I see a green screen, row 3. 1, 2, 3,
Yeah, right.
green
Well,
screen.
we'll throw you guys out.
Done, right?
So, anything else? Anybody?
Where do you usually like share like the videos that you make?
So a lot of our stuff primarily goes on YouTube. I mean, we used to. I used to be one of those filmmakers, and I think a lot of people are that way, where it's like the web, like it's not real filmmaking. And as a matter of fact, up until maybe about 4 or 5 years ago, film festivals would not take you seriously if you put films online. They would not screen your stuff because they're like, why you screen it? It's out there. Now they're starting to, the world's starting to embrace it a little bit because the quality has gone up dramatically. So with our series, we put them on YouTube. We're syndicated on Retroware TV, which is awesome. Yay, Retroware! But a lot of the stuff, like when we make our own films, a couple films we were commissioned to make were for web only. Or that was its primary way. But we also do other films. I made a feature film about 5 years ago that did a festival run. And I actually put it on YouTube last year after 4 years of playing festivals and other screenings. And I actually toured colleges and high schools with it. A lot of times, think about who your audience is. So for video games, which is what we're here in our series, is a lot of nerd culture, the web is the best place for it because that's where people are going to find it. But if you're going to try to make like a nice feature film or an indie drama or something like that, the web might not be the best place because there's a little thing in the world that are called trolls. And they're just, unless it's like a certain kind of thing,
Well,
the internet's
no one sits down at work to watch like even a 7-minute drama. They're not gonna like stop work and be like, I really want to get into this deep, like meaningful film right now. They're at work and like, wasting time on YouTube.
Cats.
Yeah, to watch cats fall downstairs and to watch stupid.
We
video
made a
games.
joke
So-
at our last comment response, if you saw it, that we want to change our series and do an episode called Living in 8 Cats. And we just do an episode with just cats and see what happens as a social experiment.
Yeah, you can get.
And if it happens, and if we get like thousands of views, I quit. Because it's
So
like,
nobody watch it when it happens. Don't watch it. Just prove us wrong, all right? No one wants us to
if
see
you
cats.
can't tell, we're a little bitter about cat videos.
But no, the interesting thing about, I don't know if this, yeah, it works. The interesting thing about the client that commissioned stuff for web was that they also found us from the stuff we already had on the web. They found the failed Kickstarter that Steph was talking about was the Kickstarter that they found us through. So they saw it and they're like, this series looks cool, but we're not funding series right now. We're funding short films that are standalone. So what else you got? And fortunately, we had the idea bank that we mentioned before, so we're like, let's see what we got, and go through the bank
12
and
things.
pitched them 16 ideas before they bought one. And then that one did really well, and so because they had a channel of short sci-fi films. This was, the company was called Red 5. I don't know if you've heard of them. They were making a video game called Firefall. I think they're still making it. It's an MMO. But they were making a channel called The Continuum to feature these like really short, cool, intense sci-fi films, mostly dramas, and they were getting ignored. So we ended up,
so good too.
they were really
So
good and they're solid, and I would tell you to go look at them, but they've since pulled the channel. But at the time, they had us actually make a comedy. We were the first comedy that they put up there, and it got like 10 times the number of views of the dramas because it's the web, and that's what people wanted to see. So after that, they started commissioning more and more comedies.
And then we got picked up by like Kotaku and just a bunch of
Right.
other sites. And it
So when we just put a video up on our own channel, we'll get 5 or 10,000 views or something like that. But on once Kotaku featured it, it had like 80,000 views off the bat.
So a long answer,
Yeah.
short answer to sum it up. Think about who your audience is. So in our case, I'm still developing short films that are nothing for the web, that are nothing like Living in 8 Bits, and we do all this other work. It's just people don't know that about us. They only know about the stuff that they see on there, and sometimes it's difficult because when you try to introduce something new that's different, people are kind of a little resistant to it. So know your audience, know who you're playing to, and that's where you find your venue for your final product.
Two quick questions. One, do you have any plans on making like a longer, larger episode instead of quick 5-6 minute ones?
Carmen's trying to talk me into it.
Yeah, we'll just say that it's in the works.
Yeah.
I would like to. and it's a, you know, we're in discussion with it. Every time we shoot a film, we're always talking about what we can do next, where we can go, where the series is going. You know, you're always having these conversations in between takes when he's setting up and we're just chatting. And it has crossed the path a little bit about possibly doing something longer than a 5-minute set, but we don't know how receptive it would be, like what we would do it on. You know, we'd have to actually all sit down. But there is a chance. I mean, I'm for it. But
The hard thing is it's the internet, and with the internet, they have the attention span of a fruit fly. I mean,
Or cats.
there's actually statistics on it where a viewer, like a lot of viewers, just tune out after what's
It's like
the number?
6 minutes or so.
Yeah, I think we said 6:25, something like that.
I mean, on our own Living in 8 Bits episodes, we find that as soon as that end title screen comes up before that whole PS, our viewership drops 60%. Like, so as soon as the episode's over, they stop watching, and we get the numbers on that. So again, it goes back to knowing your audience. So could we do that? Yes. Will people sit there and watch it? I don't know. You can never predict the internet. It's weird too, because you can have game review shows that go on for 25, 30 minutes and people will watch it, but narrative stuff, people aren't engaged for more than 3. It's so difficult.
The reason you also can't really predict it is I think you have to really establish a fan base. I think in the beginning, people don't want to take a huge bet on you because you're not vetted in their brains. Who the heck are you? Who's your channel? So maybe you'll watch something that's like a minute from someone you've never heard of, and then maybe you'll watch another one and another one. And after some time, yeah, then maybe you will want to watch a 20-minute thing from them, go see their feature film. Honestly, our friend James Rolfe is the best example of this. You know, when he started The Nerd, they were a lot shorter, and then he was able to expand them, and people still keep watching them. And now the feature film's coming out in July. And obviously that's not a 2-hour game review, it has a story. But it was able to evolve in that way, and I think that that's pretty natural. I think as people's careers develop, I think people follow actors they like, writers they like, directors they like, and then you can get away with more stuff. You can do things that are more indie or more your passion projects. But in the beginning, you have to keep it short. I mean, for us right now, actually, this is the first time we're making this announcement ever. WHYY, which is the East Coast affiliate of PBS. Philly affiliate of PBS, has asked us to make unofficial Nerd vs. Geek episodes for television. So we will be on WHYY. It won't be called Nerd vs. Geek. It's going to be called
Hi.
Hi. We're tentatively calling the show Moot, part of the show Articulate, and again, these are all working titles. We just got contracts for it and everything, and what BBS HYY has asked us to do is to actually make them even shorter. They're looking at 2-minute interstitials to start off this longer show. So it's an interesting format. They're experimenting on us, but they just like us as writers and like the format of basically 2 people. Let's see, do I have children here? They like people bitching at each other about nothing. That's what we're really selling. So it's an interesting idea too, just in general of, you know, if you have a franchise, you have something that you're making, and maybe people don't necessarily want that thing, but they just like you. Like, people buy into people, I guess, is the shorter way of saying that. So just keep making stuff and throwing things against the wall till you get something.
And one thing that, and Diana pointed this out to me, this other web series that can do the longer format, but you do it episodically. It's a series called Mario Warfare.
Oh, that's
Anyways,
awesome.
It's really cool. And it's episodic, so it's about 10 minutes an episode for 8 episodes. So it's essentially a feature film being put out in an episodic way. So I think that is more the way to go if you do it as a serial or episodic. If you put one long, like 80-minute video, are you going to keep your fan base, or this is a way to keep them coming back? But again, it's the internet. You can't predict how people are going to react.
The rule is there are no rules.
Speaking of expanded fan base, I've noticed that Society-Why is Wrong has crossed the continent already, and was wondering if this is going to be something that will be coming out on a regular basis, bi-weekly, monthly.
I see
You
some
gonna give
fingers
us
crossed.
homework?
That's nice. Yeah, right.
Thank
Jason's
you.
like, I'm putting you on the spot on camera to say this right now. So, no, thank you. They were fun to do.
It took one day.
Yeah, we got. Yeah, they were really hard to make. Dude, really hard.
We toiled.
But let me put it this way: it was like a 14-hour day, and a lot of things had to come
We
together
had
to make
to
it work.
write
Yeah, we had to
that
write-
next time.
In the case of that show, writing was the longest part and the toughest part of the process. So it was a matter of having the right ideas, wanting to put them together, I don't know, in that way, in that style, and finding who was available that day that we were shooting, so we could kind of continue this really complicated show we made in a much simpler manner with the same characters and things. So we were, able to bring back Rob Steck as Greg and Sarah as Apple and all of that. And hopefully if we do more of them, we'll be able to bring back more characters. We don't know, honestly, if we're gonna do more of them. Steph's gonna answer diplomatically, I'm sure.
No. I love Society Why It's Wrong because I like the idea of I don't know if everybody has caught on yet that it's sort of satire, like it's making fun of the traditional podcast, like it's not real, it's all scripted, it's not actually matched.
I don't actually hate blenders for
Yeah. And like so in a way,
And I totally hate
I'm
blenders.
kind of enjoying like having random people stumble upon it and get really mad at him. It's kind of funny. So if we could just find a way.
There are people vehemently defending blenders to me now. They're like, what are you talking about? Blenders are amazing. They chop things into smaller things. I'm like, I know what a blender is.
We wasted your life.
I know.
We wasted your
Like,
life.
this is
It was clickbait.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was.
Huh?
But here's
If
the
you haven't
thing.
seen it, that makes no sense.
But here's the thing.
We did an episode on clickbait.
Our idea.
It's on the DVD.
Yes, it is on the DVD. Buy it.
Go buy it.
$15, 2 for $25. But the point I think of Society Why It's Wrong is that our protagonist here is also wrong. And the episodes that I like the most are the ones that had the least amount of hits. Like the one that got the huge, giant amount of hits was Fake Nerd Girls. And we almost didn't produce that episode. We wrote it and we're like, we actually care about this and this is actually important, so we shouldn't do it because the show is supposed to be like Seinfeld. It's supposed to be about nothing, right? Nothing. And it exploded and we're like, crap.
Yeah,
We
we're
don't
like,
want to
crap,
make
we-
something poignant. Like, we want to make something pointless. And I don't know how to make people watch pointless stuff because people watch pointless stuff all the time, but just not our pointless stuff. So if you guys have the answer to this of how to make people watch our Blender video or my favorite, The Human Body featuring Sarah. Did anybody see this episode? Isn't she so cute in it? Oh my God. Oh, poor Apple.
All days of Christmas.
So anybody else?
Yeah.
We tried it with Victorian Cutout Theater, another show on our channel that gets even less hits, right? It is, oh, thank you. It is for those of you that haven't watched it, it's a Monty Python style animation by Rob Walker. It's very cerebral. There was one episode that specifically had cats in it to make people click the cats, but they were like, well, these cats, they're not like actual cats, they're animated cats. Like, we don't know what to do, no.
When we were shooting the Society Why It's Wrongs, I introduced Matt, Steph, and Sarah to the video that was popular at the time called Bane Cat.
Oh, God.
And I think I ruined their lives.
I know, we're like trying to make something that we think is like a little interesting, a little clever, a little different. Mike's like, check out Bane Cat.
Well, I was saying,
awesome. I'm like,
well, no, I wasn't saying it was awesome.
You were kind of
I was
saying it was awesome.
I was saying this is the I was agreeing with you. He looked at.
He really
Actions
secretly
speak
likes
louder
Bane Cat.
than words, Michael.
The fact that you pulled it up on your phone gave it an extra view to show it to us.
Here's the thing. It almost doesn't matter. It almost doesn't matter if a video explodes. Oh, he's so sad. It doesn't matter if a video explodes in views. It doesn't matter if people like it or if people hate it. If it's controversial, it might explode. But the worst thing is to be ignored. So I think the greatest struggle as a filmmaker is to find your audience and not just assume, oh, I'm going to upload it online and it's going to get 1 million views. I'm going to send it to a film festival and some agent's going to discover me and hand me a sack of money. What we have found is that it is a blended attack that takes many people many years. It's going to take you way freaking longer than you think.
There's so
to
many
make
more
your
people
projects
doing it now too
work.
because of the
Yeah.
internet.
Yeah.
Well, as an example, we had like so it works in reverse sometimes, like you're talking about.
Right.
We made episodes of Nerd vs. Geek. We made Living in 8-Bits. They were online. Then we did a panel like this at another film festival last year, and there were maybe 6 people in the audience for that particular panel. And one of them happened to know someone else who ran a film festival who was like, hey, we think this is perfect for that film festival. So went from web to another film festival and
On an IMAX screen.
IMAX.
on an IMAX screen in outside, just outside New York City, and
This face on
and-
IMAX.
and Living in 8-Bits won Best Web Series of the film festival.
Yeah, we were. Yeah. So now we can say award-winning web series. One more question, and then we have 2 things to wrap up.
Yes, how long have you guys been together actually? Because I know new cast development we go.
I married Mike in
I proposed. I got down on one knee on the beach.
That's right.
It was sunset.
It was touching, very touching. In fact, all of us got married to each other. It was weird a little, but.
We're in a cult, did you know?
A lot of us, to be honest, a lot of us we all come together at different times. So like the Mixed Nuts crew, I've known Connor the longest. Him and I have known each other since 3rd grade. And he's actually one of the original Mixed Nuts crew. Lori and Joey, I went to high school with them and we did theater together. So I know them from that. Carmen, I met in college. So it's like and then Jobo, and Diana I met because I taught a film program and they were actually my students for a couple of years, and now they've joined the cast that way. And then I met Matt and Steph at their festival that they ran, and now we're all working together. And then we met Ro and Sarah through their we all come together, but you find that perfect blend just from going out and doing it. And there's been a lot of people who have rotated. I've worked with a lot of different people, and it's hard to find that blend because you're not only working with people, but you're working with your friends at the same time.
Sorry.
No.
There's a phrase, hire slow, fire fast. We believe in that. When we find people and we start working with them and we like working with them, then they gradually become a part of a regular group that we work with, like everyone that's up here. But you have to sort of integrate it gradually. So once in a while you'll find someone you're like, don't really know if that's gonna work out, and then you've got to know when to cut the cord and keep working with the people that aren't like particularly toxic.
and it does kind of feel like a divorce.
I know.
When you do gotta cut the cord if it is toxic, because filmmaking is so emotional and there's so much of yourself that you put into it. When you start working with people that make you unhappy, it affects your craft, it affects your desire to do your craft. You have to make sure that you can work with these people. And I found that, like with Matt and Steph, with Nerd vs. Geek, I was VP and editor on it. I was also an assistant director. They helped me co-write Living in 8-Bits episodes, and we found we have such a good working relationship. They've worked with other people in the past. I've worked with other people in the past before we met each other. It's just, you go through the process and you learn by doing, and then you find that perfect blend to make it work.
I think my biggest suggestion too, for you guys, especially that are just starting out or wanting to network, especially locally, not to like super plug, but we do run a film festival. We run a nonprofit, and it's called Project 21, and it's how we know these guys. And I think it's really important to just get involved in the community if you really, really are thinking about making this even more of a hobby than it already is, or especially a full-time job. We are hosting a 21-day filmmaking competition this summer. It starts with a launch event. It's August 30th, and it's free to attend. It's going to be at Harvest in West Philadelphia, University City area. Basically, you show up and you get a sticker that says animator, filmmaker, writer, musician, and you just walk around the room and talk to whoever you need for your team, because every single person need somebody else to complete whatever that picture is that they want. Starting that night, you have 21 days to make an original short film or animation, and you will get a guaranteed theatrical screening in a 300-seat auditorium over at 37th and Chestnut. So early deadline for signups if you want to make your own team is actually the 29th, which is tomorrow. Yeah. But we are doing, deadlines throughout the summer to sign up if you want to be a team leader. But if you just want to get involved, if you just want to learn the ropes, even if you're not a filmmaker, if you have a house that you want featured in a local movie, if you want to make sandwiches for cast and crew and think this would be fun, I highly suggest getting involved. We really need sandwiches, but seriously, being an extra, it's really a fulfilling experience to be a part of something like this and to be a part of art. So get involved. The website is project20, the word 20 and the number 1.org. And you can, I'll plug that tonight.
Since we did a Dr. Mario episode, we're going to give a Dr. Mario signed card away because we think we're cool. I think you're cool. So, who wants a chance to win this? All right, here we go. I'm going to ask a Living in 8 Bits trivia question, and whoever gets it right, whoever can get this right, will get it.
Am I qualified?
How many times, and this is regular episodes, not specials, this is of the 46 canon episodes, how many times has Greg Belmont appeared?
I don't even think I know this.
2.
No.
4.
No. No.
So mad.
No. 7. There are 5 Greg Belmont episodes, and he cameos in 2 others. So the 5 episodes, Greg Belmont, the cameos were in Speed Run and in Puzzles Indoors. So we have one more special treat for you. If you're subscribed to our channel, you might have saw we put out this video last week or 2 weeks ago. That was fun, and this was all Lori's idea. We did a cover of Mario Kart Love Song, and we were thinking about doing it again. Do you want to hear it? Hey, all right.
Alright, you be my princess and I'll be your toad. I'll follow behind you on Rainbow Road, protect you from red shells wherever you go. I promise you, no one will touch us if we pick up a star. And if you spin out, you can ride in my car. When we glide together, we generate sparks in our wheels and our hearts. And the finish line is just around the bend. I'll pause this game so our love will never end. Let's go again. The blue shell is coming, so I'll go ahead. If you hang behind, it'll hit me instead. But never look back, 'cause I'm down but not dead. I'll catch up to you. Don't worry about Bowser or Disney. Just eat this glowing mushroom, and they'll all fade away. The finish line is just around the bend. I'll pause this game, so our love will never end. Oh, the finish line is just around the bend. I'll pause this game, so our love will never end. Let's go again. The mushroom car, and the flower car, and the star car, and the first car. Walla 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 walla, walla 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 Luigi.
Thank you all very much for coming. We will be at our booth. We're actually right next to the Cinemassacre booth. So if you plan on popping by there, we have DVDs, Nerd vs. Geek DVDs, so come pick one up. And Thank you.
Thank you.